Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be doing some healthy winter cooking to boost our immune systems.
So today we're going to be making protein, vegetables, tea, and even a fruit dish. So we're going to cover all the food bases to keep our immune system and our gut functioning their best. And if your gut isn't balanced, you won't be able to properly digest and use the nutrients from your food. So it's important to get it all working properly, and these meals will help you do that. And in all transparency, I went to film this video at the perfect time because right before I filmed it, I actually came down with like a little cold, so I have the sniffles right now, but all these things are helping me feel so much better. So this is an immune boosting berry tea, and you're just going to want to start by slicing up a whole lemon and adding the lemon along with a handful of raspberries and blueberries. You can use fresh or frozen, and then I also added 2 different kinds of tea. I used a hibiscus tea and a green tea, and you could also use an herbal tea like echinacea would be great in here. And then you're just going to want to pour it over hot water and let that steep for 5 to 10 minutes. So we're going to be making a soup today, but before I do that, I actually started a homemade chicken stock yesterday. And chicken stock has restorative properties. It makes your soup that much more nourishing and gut healing. I also just sent out a newsletter about how I make my chicken stock, as well as another immune boosting recipe that you can make all year long. So if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, I'll link it in the comments, and I'll be sharing more little notes and recipes there, so make sure you check it out. But I'm making my homemade chicken stock, so I basically just put everything in the pot and I let it simmer for a while, usually all day, and then you just want to strain it. That's pretty much how easy it is. I love how it gels like a bone broth, but it has a way better flavor to me than bone broth does. It's basically just celery, carrots, salt, onion, a bay leaf, some peppercorns, and a tiny bit of apple cider vinegar and fresh parsley. I used pasture-raised chicken legs, about 3 pounds of them, and then I cover the whole thing with filtered water and just let it simmer. You could also throw it in the crock pot or instant pot, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you let it simmer for a long time, low and slow. Makes your house smell amazing and is such a cozy little winter vibe. I love it. I prefer to make homemade chicken stock because then I can use quality chicken with it and organic vegetables, so there's no pesticides, and I can control the amount of salt and the kind of salt that's in it, so it's just all around a better product. So now we're going to be making my chicken and greens soup. This is great to really boost your immune system. It's very nutrient dense and so simple to make. I'm going to start by pouring my stock from yesterday that I made into my pot, and I'm using about 4 quarts of stock, which I think is a little bit too much, but we love the broth, so it doesn't matter. So I just pour that in and let that get simmering, and while that's simmering, I'm going to be chopping up some parsley, and I'm also going to slice the lemon to squeeze on top at the end. And yesterday, after the chicken had boiled all day, I just shredded it off of the bones, and that's what I have here to add back into our soup for today. So now I'm just washing the vegetables that we're going to be using for the next dish. And to wash them, I've actually started using apple cider vinegar in the water because it gets rid of all the pesticides and dirt on like conventional fruit and vegetables. So I just like to soak those in apple cider vinegar water for a few minutes, and then I'm going to go back to working on the soup. So I'm adding the chicken into the soup once the broth has completely heated up, and you're going to want to make sure to taste the broth to check it for how much salt you need. When you're making things from scratch and homemade, you're going to want to use a lot of salt to add flavor, and that's why I like to buy my Celtic Sea Salt in bulk, because when you make things yourself and don't buy it store-bought, like stock especially, you're going to need a lot of salt to flavor it. So don't be afraid to go for it. It's good for your body. So next I'm adding in a bag of frozen peas into the soup, and of course I spilled them everywhere because I'm kind of a messy cook, but I just picked those back up and popped them into the soup. So these are frozen peas, and this is so low maintenance. This is really even easier than making chicken noodle soup because you don't have to chop up all the carrots and boil the noodles. You just throw everything in, and it's really quick, especially if you make the broth the day before or just buy a good quality store-bought stock or bone broth. You could also just add in a cup or so of brown rice, but today I just kept it chicken and greens. Super simple and so delicious and filling. And then I just like to finish it off with a little bit of parsley, and we want to keep this raw so that we leave the nutrients intact. And the same with the lemon juice. I just squeeze it right over the bowl, and if you have kids that don't want lemon or parsley, you can leave that out, so just do the chicken and the peas. It's a really kid-friendly soup, of course, and it's also gluten-free and dairy-free, so super clean. Now we're going to make a baked salad, which if you haven't tried it, it's basically like a shredded up green salad, but instead of having it cold, you bake it and roast it, and it's actually easier to digest. So it's really great for the winter time if you're not in the mood for a cold salad. And these vegetables have lots of vitamin C, vitamin A, and vitamin E, and they're also a great prebiotic. So they feed the good bacteria in your gut, which is really important to have because they work together with probiotics to make a healthy microbiome. You could use a food processor to shred these, or places like Trader Joe's I know usually sell the shredded Brussels sprouts, but I'm just going to do it by hand today with a nice sharp knife. I'm using my Material Kitchen knife. This is the best knife I own, so I use it for everything I make. And I'll just cut the ends of the Brussels sprouts off, and then I'll cut it in half and then slice it up that way. And then you're just going to want to put it all on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, drizzle it with just a little bit of olive oil, and then I sprinkle it with Celtic Sea Salt. And then you're going to want to bake this at about 425 to 450. Get it nice and browned, and while those are in the oven, because they take longer to cook than the kale does, I'm going to go ahead and de-stem the kale, which I'm trying to show you here, and then I just kind of roll it up, and I do kind of like a chiffonade, basically to slice it up. And I'm also going to slice up a shallot, and I like to use that because it's more mild than an onion, which I like here. Now while the kale and the shallots roast in the oven with the Brussels sprouts, I'm going to make the little dressing to go on the salad. So I'm using olive oil, white wine vinegar, a little bit of maple syrup to sweeten it up, and some whole grain mustard, which you could also use Dijon or even spicy mustard. You could use any of those mustards, and then some salt and pepper, and then I just shake it up, and that is my simple salad dressing for this baked salad. A few ways I like to keep my immune system boosted is by eating probiotics, whether that's a food or taking a supplement. I also like to keep refined sugar to a minimum because too much refined sugar will definitely suppress your immune system. I like to make sure I'm getting plenty of vitamin D out in the sun and eating vitamin D rich foods like fatty fish, eggs, grass-fed beef. All of those are a great way to help stay in balance. And then of course I try to keep moving. So I take a walk. You could go to the park even during the winter months. And another thing that's important to do is boost your zinc levels. So low zinc contributes to a lot of immune dysfunction. So especially with my kids, I like to make sure that we're eating zinc rich foods like hummus, pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds, which I like to put in our smoothies, grass-fed red meat. All of those are great for boosting your zinc levels. So once the salad was done baking, then you're just going to want to put it in a bowl and toss it all together and drizzle the dressing on top. And I like to let it cool a little bit, and then I will sprinkle it with my Parmesan cheese. And you could even add sliced almonds or something like that to the salad. It would be a really good crunchy component, but I ended up just doing it like this, and I ate it the next day with some salmon, and it was really good. I loved it. The next thing we're making is a citrus salad, which is hardly even a recipe because it's so simple to put together, but I love having fruit even in the winter, and citrus is in season right now, and it's great for your immune system because of the vitamin C. And vitamin C can actually be destroyed when you cook it, so it's best to eat raw forms of it, so this is perfect for that. So all I like to do is I take grapefruit. You could also use oranges along with it, but I forgot to buy them. So I'm using grapefruit, golden kiwi, which are amazing. They're so sweet, and blueberries because I had them in the fridge. And all I'm gonna do is segment the grapefruit and slice up the kiwi. I like to take the skin off, but you can eat the skin too. Just make sure you wash it. And then I toss it all together, and the grapefruit actually tastes sweeter because of all the other fruit that it's mixed with. So this is kind of like a little hack if you don't want to feel the need to sweeten it. I just mix it all together, and you can eat it like that, or you can top yogurt for probiotics or cottage cheese. You know, I like the Good Culture brand, and it's a great little light meal. If you enjoyed this kind of video, please give it a like because it really does help me with my channel, and I will make more of these kinds of videos for you. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.